Hello! Now, before we get started, thank you. We recently reached 25,000 subscribers on the channel, and it is a very awesome milestone to achieve. That is why I am going to be sharing 5 of my most favorite Roblox games with you today. Now, with that out of the way, let's get right into the video. First up on the list is going to be a game called Fantastic Frontier. This is an open world adventure game with tons of content. Whenever I think of the word adventure, I actually think about adventuring, in the aspect of being able to roam around the world and do pretty much anything I want to. This is pretty much exactly what you're going to get. Not only can you hunt enemies and battle bosses, but you can also go dungeon diving. And if you want to do something a little bit more relaxing, you can go fishing, hunting for wild animals, exploration, farming, do quests, buy a house, or get right back to battling bosses. The best part about this is whatever you do in the game, you'll be progressing forward. You'll obtain some new items, new equipment, or even find some rare resources or items. The game itself has one main area that you're going to be traversing around as the world, and a few areas that you can go and travel to. For example, there's a separate island that you can travel to, there's a nightmare zone, and there's a few dungeons as mentioned. If you love adventure games, you have to give this game a try, because genuinely, it is jam-packed with tons of stuff that you can do. If the game is a little bit difficult to jump right into, I do have a few videos for starting out if you're new to the game that you can check out with the eye icon up in the top right. If you're not into adventuring and you're looking for something a little bit more strategic, well, Blox Cards is going to be the next game. This is a turn-based card game with over 2,000 different cards. The game itself works with both players having a deck of 40 cards and taking turns summoning and attacking each other. Cards have their own cost, and given how many cards there are, you can make a ton of different deck combinations. The game has PvP and PvE with multiple different game modes. Additionally, the game also has a bunch of quests, achievements, and cosmetics that you can gain. So regardless, this game is jam-packed and you'll have a ton of stuff to do. Believe me when I say this is probably one of the best card games on Roblox, given how much it has and the dedicated community that's been around it for many years. I should honestly know, I started the YouTube channel covering Blox Cards with tons of gameplay footage and tons of gameplay guides. They're incredibly old, so I don't know if they'll be the most helpful nowadays, but it was a fun journey and it still is a very fun game to play. Now, if you still want a game with strategy, but you're not really into turn-based combat, don't worry, I've gotcha. Tower Heroes is my favorite tower defense type of game. This game has a bunch of different units, but what makes this one very special is all the units are very unique and all of them can hold their own weight. What I mean by that is basically instead of having a meta, you're gonna have to try and figure out what towers will work best in different situations, but if you're playing some of the easier maps, anything really works. As a side note, the maps actually do have their own uniqueness. It's not gonna be the same enemies over and over. Depending on the map that you choose, the boss is going to be different, the enemies are going to be different, and there might be gimmicks. This game has a large variety of different maps, and as you level up, you'll be able to unlock more, and a variety of different game modes. Some maps will be basic tower defense maps, other maps will allow you to build on them, and depending on the game mode, you can add modifiers to manipulate the game in a way you want. And if you're interested in events, this game does holiday events, and they are very fun to do. Granted, they're a little bit difficult at times, or a little bit tedious, but still very fun. Now, if you're looking for a game that's a little bit more action-packed, Decaying Winter is going to be my recommendation to you. Decaying Winter is a multiplayer action-packed wave survival type of game. You and other players are going to have to survive the waves of enemies while scavenging for any resources during the day. When exploring, you'll encounter some resources such as weapons, consumables, or even materials that you can use with blueprints to craft some items. However, you'll have to be careful as enemies are going to be all around. The game's fun in the aspect of loot is random, and also some of the encounters can be very interesting. Additionally, the game has a bunch of customization, not only your appearance, but also what you bring to the table. The game has a bunch of different perks with their own little playstyle, and you can manipulate this further by adding some passives. Additionally, you can select the equipment, and with all of this, you should have a higher survival rate. However, you still have to work as a team with the other players. As the further you go, the game does get increasingly difficult. If you do get bored of the game, there are some things you can do, such as little missions to unlock some extra equipment or perks, but also there's another game mode. This game is genuinely a very fun one, and I keep on coming back to it because it is fun to hop into and play a match or two every once in a while. Lastly, if you don't want to work with others and you just want to play a game alone, then Hours is going to be my recommendation. This is a little roguelike game that has a ton of different characters called hosts. And in addition to that, you have a huge amount of different abilities called tempos. The game is really simple. Survive the wave of enemies so you can fight the boss to proceed to the next stage. After clearing a few bosses, you'll reach the end, and it's going to be a really tough challenge. However, during this journey, there's a bunch of things that you can do and unlock. There's even more characters to unlock, more tempos to play and mess around with, and a different game mode that you can access in the little training area. Hours is a really fun game as every single character has a different variety of upgrades, and there's quite a lot to choose from, so you'll find something that you enjoy. Now, this game does have a Game Pass, and the Game Pass does allow for even more tempos and more stuff. So if you want to mess around with even more stuff, I would fully recommend grabbing it. But regardless if you have the Game Pass or not, you'll still have a ton of stuff to mess around with. This is one of the few games that I've actually completed and full-heartedly enjoyed from start to end. That is going to be everything. These are my top 5 favorite games, and I hope you enjoy all of these titles as much as I have. Genuinely, these games are jam-packed and filled with hours of fun. I hope this list was a little bit more on the side of variety, so hopefully you could find something you'll enjoy. But anyways, that's gonna be all from me. Thank you so much for 25,000 subscribers, and I'll be seeing ya.